The kidnappers saw an easy mark. A wealthy black couple, carefree and smiling, their luxury a beacon in the tropical resort night. They saw the designer bracelet on her wrist, the relaxed confidence of people who believed themselves untouchable. It was a picture-perfect snapshot of a life they resented and sought to plunder. They waited for the perfect moment, striking when the wife was alone. They were professionals, swift and brutal, convinced the distraught husband would pay a king's ransom without question to see her again. Their plan was simple, clean, and profitable. What they failed to see was the predator lurking beneath the polished surface. They didn't know the husband was Aziel King, a man forged in the relentless fires of a Navy SEAL team. They thought they had kidnapped a vulnerable woman. In truth, they had stolen the heart of a man trained to hunt, dismantle, and destroy. Aziel would not bargain. He would not plead. He would hunt them. He would tear their world apart, brick by bloody brick, until he brought her home. And by the time he was done, their gang would be erased, their empire shattered, and their arrogant leader would be nothing more than a prisoner staring at 4 concrete walls. The sun dipped low over the endless stretch of turquoise water, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. The gentle lull of the waves kissed the shore, a rhythmic whisper against the pristine white sand. Aziel King leaned back in his lounge chair, his muscled frame relaxed, but never fully at ease, even here. A cool breeze rustled through the towering palm trees, carrying the scent of salt and something sweeter, the faint trace of his wife, Alicia's coconut-scented sunscreen. She sat beside him, her dark curls catching the last golden rays of the setting sun, a vision of effortless grace. A cocktail glass, its rim dusted with sugar, dangled loosely from her fingertips as she traced lazy patterns in the sand with her free hand. Her skin, kissed by the sun, glowed against the white linen cover-up draped over her swimsuit. "You're thinking too much," she murmured, not bothering to look at him. I smirked, shifting his gaze from the horizon to his wife. "I don't think that's possible." Alicia finally turned her head, her dark eyes sparkling with amusement. "Yes, it is. You're sitting in literal paradise, but I can already see your brain running tactical assessments. You've probably memorized every exit off this beach, haven't you?" Aziel exhaled a soft laugh, his head tilting back slightly. "Maybe." She sipped her drink. "Just once, I'd love to see you turn it off." Aziel studied her for a long moment. The love he had for her was a deep, settled warmth in his chest. She had always been the one to remind him that life wasn't just about survival. It was about living. Even after all these years, she still looked at him the way she always had, with knowing patience and a quiet challenge. "For you," he said, his voice low and smooth. "I'll try." Alicia gave him a satisfied smile before setting her drink aside and standing up. She stretched, her body silhouetted against the soft pink glow of the sky. "Good, because I booked us a couples massage in 20 minutes. And after that," she leaned in closer, dropping her voice to a playful whisper, "we're going dancing." Aziel raised a brow. "Dancing?" She grinned. "A nightclub, live DJ, beautiful people, that thing normal married couples do on vacation." Aziel gave her an amused look, but he didn't argue. He could deny her nothing, not when she looked at him like that. For now, they were just husband and wife, black, beautiful, and basking in a moment of peace. They had no idea it would be their last one. The music in the club thumped through the floor, a heavy bass that vibrated in their chests. They moved together on the dance floor, a world of flashing lights and swirling colors around them. Alicia was a fluid, joyful presence in his arms, and for a precious handful of minutes, Aziel truly let go. He was just a man, with his wife, in a moment of pure, uncomplicated joy. But across the room, they were being watched. 3 men sat in a shadowed booth, their eyes cold and assessing. Their leader, a man named Rolston with a face like chiseled granite, didn't see a happy couple. He saw assets. The cut of Aziel's suit, the effortless way he carried himself, the diamond solitaire at Alicia's throat, and the custom-designed gold bracelet on her wrist, it all screamed old money. An easy, high-value score. "Look at them," muttered the enforcer, a brutish man named Red, a scar tracing a pale line down his cheek. "They probably own the place," Rolston said, his voice devoid of emotion. "Or, at least their bank account does. The woman is the key. He'll pay anything to get her back." They watched, biding their time, predators waiting for the herd to separate. The moment came when Alicia squeezed Aziel's hand. "I'll be right back," she said, nodding toward the restrooms. The second the restroom door swung shut behind her, Rolston gave a barely perceptible nod. Red and another man, Duke, slid out of the booth and moved with purpose. Inside the restroom, Alicia was washing her hands when the door opened again. Two men walked in, and the atmosphere shifted instantly. Before she could scream, a rough hand clamped over her mouth, smelling of cheap tobacco and sweat. She fought, a tempest of fury and fear, driving an elbow backward and hearing a satisfying grunt. Her bracelet, a gift from Aziel, snapped and clattered to the tiled floor, unnoticed by her captors. A needle pricked her neck. The world swum, the lights blurring into streaks, before fading to black. Aziel's ease evaporated the moment he realized too much time had passed. His gut, a finely tuned instrument honed by years of combat, twisted into a cold knot. He moved through the crowd, his eyes scanning, calculating. He found the bracelet first, lying abandoned near the restroom's entrance. The cold metal in his palm felt like a declaration of war. He bullied himself into the security room, his presence a thunderclap that shattered the guard's lazy indifference. With a voice like frozen steel, he demanded the footage. He watched the grainy black and white images with a heart of stone. The two men, the struggle, the van. He isolated the license plate, his mind memorizing the digits. Then he saw it. As the taller man, Red, yanked Alicia's arm, his sleeve rode up, revealing a tattoo. A swastika interwoven with an iron cross, and beneath it, 3 crude letters, SFV. Aziel's phone was in his hand before he was out of the room. The line connected to a trusted contact. "They took Alicia," he said, his voice terrifyingly calm. "I have a plate and a mark, swastika and iron cross, letters SFV. "Running it now," the voice on the other end replied, already typing. "SFV. Searching for victims. Small, nasty piece of work. High-end kidnappings. They're ghosts." "They're dead men," Aziel corrected, his tone absolute. "They just don't know it yet."
He tracked the van to a derelict meatpacking plant on the city's industrial fringe. The air inside was thick with the stench of decay and old blood. Alicia awoke tied to a chair in a rusted-out cold storage room. Red leered over her. "Your rich husband will be wiring us a fortune soon," he sneered. "Maybe we'll even send you back in one piece." Alicia's fear was a live wire, but it was eclipsed by a colder, sharper emotion, rage. "You have no idea what you've done," she said, her voice steady, despite the tremor in her hands. She'd been working silently at the ropes binding her wrists, feeling a strand give way. Red laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "I know we're about to get paid." He stepped closer, invading her space, and that was his mistake. With a surge of adrenaline, Alicia wrenched one hand free. She didn't aim for his face. She drove the heel of her palm upward into his nose. Cartilage crunched. As he reeled back, roaring in pain and surprise, she was on her feet, the chair clattering behind her. She fought with a desperate, ferocious grace born of terror, using the confined space to her advantage, kicking, scratching, buying herself seconds. She burst out of the room and into the maze of corroded machinery. She could hear Red's enraged shouts echoing behind her. She ran, her heart hammering against her ribs, until she found a possible way out, an access ladder leading to the roof. She scrambled up, Red's heavy footsteps pounding on the rungs below her. On the roof, under a blanket of indifferent stars, there was nowhere left to run. Red emerged from the hatch, blood smeared across his face, his eyes promising murder. Alicia backed toward the edge. "Nowhere to go, sweetheart," he spat. A smile, thin and dangerous, touched Alicia's lips. "I wasn't running," she said. "I was leading you." She sidestepped at the last second. Red, charging blindly, stumbled forward. His foot came down on a rusted, weakened section of roofing. With a shriek of protesting metal, it gave way. He plummeted through the hole, his scream cut short by a sickening crash from the floor below. Alicia didn't wait. She fled across the adjacent rooftops, eventually climbing down into a dark, silent alley. She was free, but she was alone, injured, and miles from help. And she knew they would be coming for her. Her fears were realized when an older pickup truck pulled up, an apparently kindly man named Cal at the wheel. "Lord, child, you look like you've been through it. Let me get you out of here," he said, his voice dripping with false concern. Exhausted and bleeding, Alicia accepted. It was only as she got in, her eyes adjusting to the dim light, that she saw it. As he reached to adjust the gear shift, his sleeve slid back. On the back of his hand was the same SFV tattoo. Her blood ran cold. She was not saved. She had been recaptured by the very network she had escaped. Azil, following a trail only a tracker of his caliber could see, a scuff mark here, a torn thread there, arrived at the alley just in time to see the taillights of Cal's truck disappear. The cold fury that had been simmering within him now boiled over into a glacial calm. The hunt was on. Using every resource at his disposal, he traced the truck to a remote lumber mill, the gang's primary stronghold. Under the cover of night, he became a ghost, infiltrating the perimeter with lethal silence. He was no longer just a husband, he was judgment. Inside, Alicia was thrown back into a chair, this time in front of Ralston himself. "Your little stunt cost me a good man," he said coldly. "The price for your return just doubled. Let's see if your husband is as quick to pay." It was then the lights went out. A moment later, the door to the room exploded inward. Azil stood in the doorway, silhouetted by the emergency lights, a specter of vengeance made flesh. The firefight was short, brutal, and efficient. Azil moved through the room like a force of nature, disarming and disabling with precise, devastating force. He didn't kill to be cruel. He killed to reach his wife. He reached her side, cutting her bonds with a swift slash of his knife. Their eyes met, a universe of relief, fear, and unwavering resolve passing between them in a single glance. "I knew you'd come," she breathed. "Always," he said, pressing a pistol into her hands. "Can you fight?" Alicia's fingers closed around the grip. "Try and stop me." Together, they became an unstoppable storm. Back to back, they fought their way through the mill, a symphony of controlled chaos. Azil with his surgical precision, Alicia with her ferocious will. They fought until they reached the heart of the operation, the server room where Ralston kept his records. Ralston was there, making a last stand, a final transmission to scatter his remaining assets. "You've ruined everything," he screamed, firing wildly. Azil disarmed him with a sharp blow, and the two men engaged in a vicious, close-quarters struggle. Ralston was strong, fueled by desperation, but Azil was relentless. The fight ended with Ralston on his knees, Azil's knee in his back as he zip-tied his wrists. "It's over," Azil growled. "You think this ends with me?" he spat, blood dripping from his lip. "We're everywhere." "Not anymore," Alicia said, holding up a hard drive she had ripped from the server. "We have everything. Names, accounts, every victim. You're finished." The wail of sirens pierced the night. The cavalry, alerted by Azil's contact, had arrived. As federal agents swarmed the compound, Azil pulled Alicia into a tight embrace. holding her as if he would never let go. The nightmare was over. Weeks later, the headlines told the story. SFV kidnapping ring dismantled in coast-wide raids. Key leader in custody. Millions in assets seized. Azil and Alicia stood outside their newly rebuilt business, a security consultancy. The physical and emotional scars were still healing, but they were healing together. The late afternoon sun warmed their faces. A black sedan pulled up, and Commander Mason, the lead agent on the case, got out. He handed Azil a file. "It's done. The entire network is in ruins. Ralston's singing like a canary to avoid the death penalty." "You didn't just get her back," Mason said, respect evident in his voice. "You saved countless others. Thank you." As Mason drove away, Alicia laced her fingers with Azil's. The peace they had fought so hard for now felt tangible, earned. "What now?" she asked softly, leaning her head against his shoulder. Azil looked out at the calm ocean, then down at the strong, remarkable woman beside him. The soldier in him could finally, truly stand down. "Now," he said, a genuine, peaceful smile gracing his lips for what felt like forever, "we live."